We're gonna make Snickerdoodles, a highly requested recipe, and if you want the recipe and you just want to skip the video, it'll be in the description. Otherwise, you're gonna watch me make it. I give these Snickerdoodles a 10. I've made this Snickerdoodle recipe for literally hundreds of people. Over the course of the last 5 years at least, this is one recipe that I've made over and over again, no matter what job I've held, and I've taken them everywhere and people love them. They want the recipe, and it's the best Snickerdoodle they've ever eaten in their life. So I'm going to take you over to the counter and show you how I make it and talk you through some of the things that will prevent the cookie from going flat, that will help the cookie to stay puffy, etc., etc. I've let the butter soften to room temperature pretty much all day. Starting with cold butter makes it really hard. And I don't like to heat the butter in the microwave because then the hot butter messes with the science of the recipe. Half a cup of butter is 1 entire stick. You will also need a half a cup of shortening, which is Crisco. You guys know what I'm talking about. This is what will make the Snickerdoodle chewy, is that shortening. 1½ cups white sugar. 2 eggs. 2 teaspoons good quality vanilla extract. Pure vanilla. And then before I even mix that or anything, I'm just going to do the dry. This is one of those recipes where it is important to keep the dry separate from the liquid and then combine, because if you overmix this, your cracks won't be there. You'll have very disappointing looking cookies. I've already got 2 3/4 cup flour, just regular white flour, all-purpose flour, I guess you should say. Cream of tartar does go bad, as does baking soda and baking powder, so you can test if it's still alive, I guess. And I think somebody said something about putting it in water and if it fizzes. I don't know what. I'll just Google it. How to test if cream of tartar is still fresh. Because a lot of people don't use that much cream of tartar. It's not something that people commonly use. I used a lot of it because, so I'll buy the big thing. You can generally find it in the small little jar by McCormick, but I buy the big one because I use it fast enough. But make sure that it's fresh, because then your cookie texture will not come out right. 2 teaspoons cream of tartar. 1 teaspoon baking soda. 1/4 teaspoon salt. I'm going to whisk together those dry ingredients, and then I'm going to mix together the wet. Elephant. I've still got some chunks of butter, little bits of butter, but that's okay because I'm going to go in here with my hands now. Make sure your hands are thoroughly washed. I shouldn't even have to say that. So I just get in there with my hands and gently squeeze around a couple times. And that's all I'm going to do for the dough. To prevent from overmixing it. I wasn't recording that whole time. I've got the dough combined. I put saran wrap over the top of the bowl. I'm going to refrigerate this for a couple hours just so that it's easier to roll the dough into balls. Then I am going to roll the balls in a cinnamon sugar mixture, you'll see, and then I will put the balls in the freezer right before I bake them, and I will explain why later. But let's wait some time. This is an unnecessary step, but I just find it to be easier for me to roll them when the dough is cold. So I'm going to put this in the fridge for a couple hours until I'm ready for them, and then come back and roll them out so it's easier for me to handle the dough. Let us talk a little bit about pans, shall we? I have tried to make this on a flat insulated cookie sheet, and they didn't come out as puffy. I've made them on dark metal cookie sheets, and they browned a little bit quicker on the bottom. I have tried silicone mats, the tan one that has the grid on it. I've tried all kinds of mats and things, and by far the best thing in the entire world to bake cookies on, these cookies in particular. Other cookies are good, like my peanut butter scotchies that I'll make in another video are good on that silicone mat, but the Snickerdoodles, for whatever reason, come out the absolute best on this plain Volrath, wherever, is this aluminum? I don't know what it is, but it's a light colored pan so that it doesn't get as hot on the bottom, you know, and doesn't brown the cookies. And so I absolutely prefer baking the Snickerdoodles on a metal cookie sheet, a thin metal cookie sheet, not a puffy, nice insulated one or anything fancy, just a regular cookie sheet. That's what I prefer. And if you don't have a light colored one and all you have is dark, I used to make it on the dark all the time and it was just fine. You just kind of had to watch it a little bit more than you'd watch it with one of these. I got this cookie baller from Bed Bath & Beyond years ago. So that's what I'm going to be using to create balls of dough. And they're all the same size, so they come out looking beautiful. Let me just show you how this will work. This dough has been in the fridge for a couple hours now, nice and cold. But I smash it in there so that it's just about flush, and you can just pop it out, boop, and do that with all your cookies. So I'm going to do that with the entire thing, and I'll be right back. Okay, now I've got them all popped out of the thing, and we're going to put 3 tablespoons of sugar, and 3 teaspoons of cinnamon. It does not matter how much you roll these cookies in this mixture. It will never be too sugary or too cinnamony. Does that make sense? I guess I'm adding 3 teaspoons cinnamon and 6 tablespoons sugar. And then I just roll them up into perfect balls, drop them in, swirl them around, put them in the freezer, and then wait about 20 minutes and then I bake them. I very lightly greased my pan. I pulled these out of the freezer. They've been in there 20-30 minutes, and I'm just gonna stick them right on the pan. It says to bake these 8 to 10 minutes. I pull them out sooner than not because they do finish cooking while they are on the pan. But you can always smell them when they're done. I'm going to let these rest for no longer than a couple minutes because I find that if you let them cool off while they're on the hot pan, they deflate, and I don't want them to deflate. They might be a little bit too soft. Oh no, they're fine. As soon as I feel like they can handle being lifted, I literally just took this out of the oven too, so they should be just fine. As they cool and crack, and that's exactly what we want. One other thing to keep in mind while you take them out of the oven and put them in the oven is that when you open that oven door, the temperature cools considerably. So try to keep the oven door closed as much as you can. Don't just hang out with it open and move your cookies and put the other cookies right in, you know? Let it warm up. It's so puffy. Mmm. Every time. It is a 10 every time. That is a delicious cookie.